Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production.
Roll sound.
Rolling.
Sound production. Take 2.
Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? Now, we're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Or, your father was right. You were an idiot, and everything you watched was stupid. So buckle up, movie aficionados. Over-the-top gore? Check. Over-embellished action? Check. Gratuitous nudity? Double check. Storylines so absurd you could drive a semi-truck through those plot holes. Oh yeah, some of those movies didn't even know what a movie plot was. And that's the way we liked it. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
All right. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Today we are going back to 1985 and watching. Yay, put up in the corner there. Silver Bullet, starring Corey Haim, Gary Busey, some other people. There's someone else in this.
You say his name Corey Haim?
Is it Corey Feldman?
Corey Haim.
Corey Haim, that's right. Yeah. Oh, as a kid, I always said Ham too. And there, of
like,
course,
did I hear that right?
it was always girls. They'd be like, Haim.
Yeah, because the Coreys were so crush-worthy.
Yeah. As much as they were heartthrobs, the Coreys were a huge part of my childhood.
Oh my
Just
God, yeah.
together, separate. They made a lot of, I don't know if I call them great movies, but impressionable movies.
Very impressionable.
Yeah.
Yes.
From like License to Drive to Meatballs 3 to Lost Boys. Yeah, Lost Boys.
Lucas. Which I
Lucas.
loved.
Goonies. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
The amount of movies that they were in. All right. So, what do you remember about Silver Bullet?
Almost nothing. I'm not even joking. This is so terrible to say. Okay, so I remember not much. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I know I've seen it. Don't remember anything.
I've seen this movie a few times, especially back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
This would be for summers. I used to go to my grandparents in the city, and my uncles and that were down there. My uncle had a huge collection of movies. Like he had the HBOs and all that, so he would record movies. So he always had them. So one of the things I remember is going to his house, going through all his movies and picking out tapes and tapes and tapes.
Yeah.
And Silver Bullet was one that I picked out frequently. Now, what I remember is this was I thought, because when I was putting this together, I must be missing something, but I put this in with Monster Squad, The Goonies. This is very much what I remember being like a kid's horror movie. This is maybe it was because it was about kids, maybe, but I think it's a little more graphic than I don't know, but I really thought that this was a kid's horror movie. This was for us to watch as a kid. Like it really registered as an adventure, a horror adventure.
Yeah. Because when I think of this movie, and this is why I'm like, I can't really remember it, but when you say Silver Bullet to me, I think of kids running around town through the forest, like chasing, and it was like a small town chasing a werewolf. And I was like, that's the thought that pops into my head. I could not tell you what any scene looks like in this movie, but I'm sure once I start watching it, I'm going to be like, oh my God, right. I remember this image. It's in my brain somewhere. But yeah, I remember it being fun.
Yeah. And I remember the sister, I can't remember her name. We'll see her shortly, I'm sure. I remember that Corey Haim is in a wheelchair, which made for some fairly intense scenes.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. His uncle Gary Busey. I really do. As whack shit crazy as Gary Busey seems to be, I
Yeah,
love Gary Busey. Maybe because he's whack shit, but even as
maybe.
a kid, like Buddy Holly, Predator 2, like I always
Yeah.
remember Gary Busey in some pretty good movies. Um, yeah, I do really remember liking this movie, and I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I did read this, but I think it was a shorter story in one of his more one of the books that has a
Mhm.
bunch of different stories in it. Um, I never reread the story over and over or anything like that, but I did read it, but it was back when I was much younger, so I can't
Yeah.
really compare the two at all, and I hate doing that. I
Well,
It's so hard to do unless it's like if it comes close, that's fine. It's when they make a movie and it's so much shittier than the book, that's
yeah.
when it becomes disappointing.
See, I have a rule. I have a rule for books that are turned into movies where I'm like, I kind of, as long as you get the gist of the story in the movie, I'm a
Yeah.
lot more forgiving. But as long as you don't change anything too radically in the movie from the book. This is why I hate the Keira Knightley version of Pride and Prejudice,
Mm.
because I'm like, they changed too much to make it very individual. And I was like, no. To make it new, they ended up changing things that I was like, this is kind of fundamental. And you didn't need to change it because it makes no sense. Um, but I mean, for me, most movies or most books are better as miniseries.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me the whole story. All of it.
Yeah. What did I The Dark Tower. They just the movie butchered it. It was just
Mhm.
same character names and then really not a whole lot to do with the books. And that's when you're like, you didn't even try.
Yeah.
For those listening, Mike Flanagan, who's fantastic, does all those Netflix shows, the haunted house ones, Bly
Mhm.
Manor and all that. He's actually gone to Amazon Prime where he's going to be doing uh, multiple seasons of The Gunslinger, The Dark Tower, Stephen King books over there.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. But Silver Bullet, let's take a look at the box office. October 11th, 1985, perfect, just
Mhm.
before Halloween. Budget of $7 million. It opened in third place behind Commando. I love that movie. And Jagged Edge. Jagged Edge is that thriller movie. If you look it up, you'll because I'm like Jagged Edge, and then when I looked it up,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I would like to watch this. But it did open ahead of Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. It had an opening weekend of $4 million and ended its run with a domestic total of $12.3 million. So it made its money back. And then you got to think with rentals and VHS sales and stuff like that. It probably
Yeah.
did okay. Nothing huge, but
That's
do I have
still
enough note here? No.
it's pretty good though.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. So that's a laser disc.
Oh my god.
We had one of those when I was a kid.
We did not.
And it was weird. We had the ones where half the movie and halfway through it would stop and you'd have to put the thing in to catch it, bring it out, turn it around, put it back
Jeez.
in. Just because they didn't have the technology to put it all on. And the laserdiscs were freaking huge. They're size of records.
Yeah.
So year of release, 1985, genre, horror, rating, R. Now that's when I was saying I remember being like a kid, so I'm missing something or it was a little more gory than I thought. And it
Mm,
comes in a runtime at 1 hour and 35 minutes.
nice. These are some shorter movies. I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, taglines. All right. It started in May in a small town. And every month after that, whenever the moon was full, it came back.
That's a shitty tagline.
Yeah. When darkness falls, terror rises.
Perfect.
Yep. Part human, part wolf, total terror.
I like that.
He makes evil an event.
Perfect.
So yeah, other than the first one, some good
Yeah.
taglines.
Those were some good taglines.
Synopsis. When a series of unexplained murders occurs in the normally quiet town of Tarker's Mill, the residents decide to hunt down the killer. However, many of these vigilantes end up dead, and those who don't are no closer to finding an assailant. But when a young wheelchair-using boy named Marty, Corey Haim, encounters a werewolf one night, the pieces begin to come together. I'm pretty sure it's solved. Along with his sister and Uncle Red, Gary Busey, Marty begins a mission to capture the werewolf once and for all.
See, that's a great description.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
And for movies like this, I remember being a kid, you just need a werewolf
Oh,
on
for
the
sure.
front. That you didn't need to sell that one.
Well, also
And
just the last line, Marty begins a mission to capture the werewolf once and for all. Boom, that's the movie. Let's watch that.
yeah. Now here is the poster. Much different. And it has that it started in May in a small town, and every month after that, whenever the moon was full, it came back. So for those listening, it is a very black
Mhm.
poster with a bit of a full moon behind some trees. You can only see really the outline of the tree in the forest, and there's some fog and light in the background. I actually like the poster. I don't like that tagline there,
Yeah.
but other than that, it's a lot creepier than you would think.
Honestly, if you cropped it so that the words weren't in it, that would make
Yeah,
a great like print to hang.
yeah,
I
because
would have that.
and it has Stephen King's silver bullet, silver with the eye as an actual silver bullet, and then the
Yeah.
descriptions below. Yeah, I like the poster. I would hang that. Yeah, I would take that out. You're
I would
right.
take out the words,
Yeah,
but like everything else, it makes for a really great poster.
as long as the movie's good.
We're gonna find out.
All right. 22 critic reviews coming in at 41%.
Oof.
Might not be that good. 10,000 audience reviews comes in at 56%. This is more our
Okay.
wheelhouse when it
Yeah.
comes to like horror movies.
Yeah.
Actually, 56 is pretty high for horror
56
movies
is
that
pretty
we
high.
watch.
Yeah. From the audience, yeah, that's pretty high.
All right. Here are the positives, beta, and Anna will start.
Silver Bullet is fun rather than terrifying. Robert Martin's Starburst, original score 7 out of 10. Interesting.
Yeah. When I think of great horror films, when I think of great werewolf films, and when I think of great King film, I think of this Felix Vasquez Jr. Film Threat.
That was super positive. Fairly effective werewolf flick with medium production values. Ken Hankey, Mountain Express, original score 3 out of 5. Ken, you don't sound enthused.
Yeah. The medium production values. Well, at least he didn't say shitty production values.
Fairly effective werewolf flick.
Yeah, fairly effective with some medium production values. Great. Bottom line, Silver Bullet delivers some fine set pieces and is, on balance, the best of the self-scripted Stephen King adaptations. Bill Chambers, Phil Freak Central, original score 3 out of 4. Yes, this is one that actually Stephen King wrote the screenplay for. To be fair, if you look at the list of the screenplays, it's not a high bar.
Yeah.
The ones he actually did, they weren't I liked them, but not because they were great.
Screenwriting and novel writing and short story writing, very different art forms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There are all sorts of sly satiric touches in the film. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, original score 3 out of 4. Damn, he really liked that.
Yeah, and like we said this before, Roger Ebert's been known not to like horror movies. So
Yeah.
he found this one fun. Here are the rotten. This dreadful, borderline camping movie about a werewolf on the prowl in a sedate town is long on the gore and short on the logic. Rob Gonzalez, Rob's Movie Vault, original score C-.
Wow, Rob.
Gore and no logic. That's like most horror films.
I was about to say. Nothing to howl about. Matt Brunson, Film Frenzy, original score 2 out of 4.
A bad parody of the werewolf films that are set in small town middle America. Dennis Schwartz movie reviews, original score C+.
Okay. A horror flick for young fans who aren't quite prepared for the really scary stuff. Scott Weinberg, DVDtalk.com, original score 2.5 out of 5. Interesting.
They're not horrible reviews.
No. They're not super insulting.
Feels episodic and slight. Little more than a slasher movie in which the slasher is a lycanthrope. James Kendrick, Q Network Film Desk, original score 2 out of 4.
He says it like that's a bad thing, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'd watch that movie.
And if you're a film reviewer and you go in and you don't like horror movies or werewolf movies,
Yeah.
like that's unfair to the movie, I think.
You can watch a movie if it's in a genre you don't like and still say whether or not it's a good movie for that genre.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, 32,000 user rating, comes in at 6.4 out of 10. That's
Okay.
not bad.
Not bad.
You may start.
I'm ready. I love werewolf movies, and this is my favorite of them all. 10 out of 10, Diana fan 79.
And to think, I found this in the 3 for $10 section. 9 out of 10, A. Johns 1.
Amazing. Heartwarming, fun, gory at times, werewolf tale. 8 out of 10, horror crave.
Who wouldn't want Gary Busey as their uncle? 7 out of 10, Pew Spencer.
Amazing. An absolute must-see for 80s horror fans. 6 out of 10, Beetle 259 554 148.
Stephen King, Gary Busey, werewolves, rockets off a wheelchair. Yep, it has it all. 5 out of 10, bands about movies.
Amazing. A silver bullet would do the trick. 4 out of 10, Lost in Limbo.
Guess I didn't like it.
Not so much.
This is not underrated. Weak story, terrible cast, junk movie. 3 out of 10, Trey Yancey, 572 763 547.
It has a werewolf in it. 2 out of 10, J.F. Gibson 73.
I guess that's the one positive.
Yeah.
Pitiful. 1 out of 10, Emo Dork.
Oh my God, tell us how you really feel, emo dork.
All right. Okay, so we saw the box office, went through the movie, looked at the reviews. Let us take a look at the trailer and then make a prediction.
It began in May, and every month after that, whenever the moon was full, it happened again. And again. Nobody knew who or what was responsible. They only knew it had to be stopped. Now, from the master of mystery and suspense, Stephen King's Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet, the last glimmering hope.
Okay. I have a feeling for, I think they were trying to really play the suspense when they really should have concentrated on Corey Haim and Gary Busey. And what is that girl's
Megan
name?
Follows?
Is it Megan Follows?
Yeah. Good Canadian.
Yeah, she's been in tons.
Oh, yeah. She's been working pretty much her whole life.
Well, she wasn't in Ginger Snaps, was she?
I don't think so.
Was she in like Anne of Green Gables or
Anna Green Gables, she played Anne.
that? Okay, that's where I know her from.
Yeah. She's also been in a lot of stuff. She was in Winona Earp, Heartland. Oh God, what was the other thing? Rain was a very popular show on the CW. She was in that. Yeah, no, she's done a lot.
All right, what are your predictions for Silver Bullet?
I think this is going to be so incredibly cheesy. and I'm here for it. Now let's hope it's cheesy in the best way possible. But I was watching that and I was like, damn, that's a lot of fog.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fog.
That's a lot of fog. And usually when there's that much fog with a werewolf, you're going to roll your eyes at least a few times. So I'm ready for that. I'm ready. I'm ready to roll my eyes. I'm just hoping I laugh while I roll them.
I'm hoping that it's like I said, I hope it's a lot like a kid adventure.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to find this werewolf. And yeah. So I remember really liking this movie, so I have high hopes.
Yes.
It might not work out that way, but we'll see. All
Well,
right.
we're going to find out.
All right. Well, we are going to go watch Silver Bullet, and when we come back, we are going to review it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And now, on with the show.
Ooh, wasn't that some scary werewolf stuff, kids? Did you watch the 1985 horror film Silver Bullet?
I did watch it.
Your initial thoughts?
It felt a lot younger than I remember. That was my very not as young as Goonies.
No, but like I that's what
But
I said. Yeah.
yeah, it felt like almost like a kids movie, except with blood and gore.
Yeah, a lot more blood and gore than your average
Yeah.
kid movie. But yeah, it felt very, and maybe that's why I liked it so much as a kid. Because it felt like you said, not quite Goonies,
No.
but within that realm of Goonies.
Yeah, it felt like I would keep forgetting until, someone started, I don't know, till someone got scratched up, eaten,
Yeah,
beheaded,
head goes
whatever.
flying off. Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Oh, yeah,
forget
it's an R-rated movie.
that kids couldn't watch this because I was like, it feels very much like a kid movie.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
My initial thought, I had a lot of fun watching this movie. First, it's an older movie, like 1985, but it does take place in 1976. So watching a movie made in the 80s that takes place in the 70s, mind blown. No, I loved it. It was very nostalgic. It was gory. The effects were most of the time not bad. It was goofy. It had legitimate tense moments.
Yes.
Not one. It had a few. It had some funny moments. It
Yeah.
was dated in parts, but it was like the word, like calling the booger such a booger. I'm like,
Such
what?
a bugger.
Who the fuck says? I don't, oh, 76. The acting was surprisingly really good.
Right?
But when you look at the cast of this movie and the amount of familiar faces in this movie is astounding.
Yeah. It's I every time they would pan, I'd be like, hey.
Yeah, and not big time actors, but actors you've seen in a lot of different things. From
Career
the
actors.
80s and career actors. Yeah.
Yeah.
The score was great, like thrilling in the right parts, creepies in the others. Like, what happened to these scores that could show you a picture perfect town and still heighten the tension at the same time, or give way to that sadness is coming?
Yeah, without beating you over the head with it.
Yeah, very subtly.
Very subtly. Where it just amps up the energy and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then you realize afterwards, because I hate it when the music comes in too loud and too fast.
To
and
try
too
to make
abruptly,
it, yeah.
To try and make you now you're supposed to be scared. Like, no, man, ease me into it.
Yeah, this movie did that. This movie did a lot of things right. It is not a perfect movie by any stretch. But I had fun. Like the rocky relationship between Jane and her paraplegic younger brother.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So all right.
It was a great sibling relationship.
Yeah. And I don't know if because it starts off with the narration where she says it all took place in the summer of 1976. So
Yeah.
automatically, rather than go, oh, this is dated, you're almost automatically going, okay, this takes place in 1976. So what follows makes sense.
Yes.
You're not going, and it's weird how it kind of did that. You're not going, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. You're told that this is 1976.
Mhm.
So for me, it automatically helped.
Well,
Actually,
I also
I
love
love older movies anyways, but
yeah. Well, so do I, but, I also never lived through 1976, so
no.
everything seemed appropriate for that time for me because 'cause I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
because that's what happened in
I love the
1976."
fashion.
Oh,
Those
fashion
pastel
fantastic.
colors and pastel blues with yellow stripes and brown, and
So many color combinations,
it was awesome.
so many skirts going down below the knee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't wanna say a better time.
No, it was not a better time because it was
There were
right around
werewolves.
that time well, there were werewolves. That was also the time when women were just getting the right to have a bank account in only their name
In
and
the
to be able to
70s?
get to get
Really?
mortgages. Yeah, you had to have your father or your husband on any checking accounts, credit cards. The credit card couldn't be in your name if you were a
Really?
woman. Yeah, it had to be in a man's name. You could be on the account, but you couldn't have your own credit.
It's that's funny. Like, it's not I get it. It's weird because you think now it just seems so alien. It's not that long ago.
It's not that long ago.
Like,
This
really?
Look, I think it was in 1974 was when women could start getting their own credit cards, which meant they could build credit, which then meant they would have a credit rating so they could get a mortgage. Like it's a whole ripple effect. But I was like, 90, that's
Funny
6
enough,
years before I was born.
that's when all the countries started going severely in debt.
That don't even make no sense.
Women got credit cards and maxed out the credit card
That
and
the government doesn't pay for your credit card.
no.
Do you
Uh,
need to sit down for like financial literacy lessons?
according to my
I'm
wife, I
concerned.
do. Some of my purchase, let's say, are not mature, according to her.
Well,
Do not reflect my age, according to her.
I just recently bought a bunch of like miniature Care Bears, so I don't know if I'm the best to speak on this.
I
I'm the
was
worst.
looking at tin things up because I just finished Big Bang Theory and I'm
Yeah.
watching now How I Met Your Mother.
Mm,
Yeah, I saw some tins with like
yeah.
stuff on it. I was thinking about buying them, but I might have to wait till she's gone and sneak those purchases in. Okay. All right. So the relationship between Jane Coslaw and her paraplegic younger brother Marty changes after a series of murders in their small rural town of Tarker's Mill, Maine, starting
Mhm.
in the spring of 1976. Rail worker Arnie Westrom, played by James Gammon, and if you're listening to this and you were really into 80s movie, he's the head coach in Major League.
Mhm.
Now you probably know who he is. And when you see him, he's been in a lot of stuff, but that's the first thing that popped into my head when I saw him. That's a
Okay, but
coach for Major League.
how long ago have you seen Major League?
Oh my God, a lot 90s.
Put
Should
it on the
watch that one
list.
too. Yeah.
Put it on the list.
I remember loving
Me
that
too.
movie.
We can totally do like a sports series. We'll watch that. We'll watch Rudy. We'll watch Remember the Titans. It'll be great.
Did you ever watch Necessary Roughness with Scott
Yes.
Bakula?
So long ago.
So long ago. I remember loving that movie too.
Oh God. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
gotta remember these movies.
Yeah.
Might not even have to make a list to pick things.
I know. We'll just put this is it. We're making
Yeah.
the list.
So he's decapitated by an unseen attacker. Actually, we see that it is a werewolf.
Yes.
And props to the movie, they don't show everything, just like bits here, bits there. They
Yeah.
don't. Very smart decision, especially back then when I don't know if they were worried about what it looked like. I think it was that whole Jaws thing where you don't see the whole monster till the end, just bits
Yeah.
of it here and there.
Well, it's scarier if you don't get the whole picture.
Yes.
If you only get bits and pieces, your mind is working hard
Yeah.
to put it all together to make sense of it. I did like that. I also like it that we get a decapitation right off the bat.
Oh
And
yeah.
and that it's just like named and nobody thought anything about it because he was the town drunk.
'Cause he was the town drunk.
I'm like, fantastic. Let's keep it going.
Old Arnie. Pregnant Stella Randolph prepares to kill herself, but is brutally murdered in her own bedroom. An abusive father, Milt Strumfuller, is killed in his greenhouse. Okay, Wikipedia is just diving right in here.
They're just going through all the deaths.
So, okay, railroad worker Arnie's decapitated, but everyone knew he was a drinker.
Yeah, so they figured it
Chalked
was
up
just
to
an accident.
Yeah, because it was laying there right on the thing. It looked like a train came
Yeah.
through, and I'm sure upon further investigation, it might reveal some claw marks, maybe the rip head off the body, not really consistent with a train severing. But it's 76.
It is what it is. I mean, and it's also a small town, so
Yeah,
it's not like they have a corner.
yeah.
You
Then
know,
we
they've got Mr. Fillmore from the funeral home who
right
looks at the body and goes,
looks like suicide. Um. Then we're at the town picnic, and Marty and his friend Brady get a snake, and they're playing with it, and then they scare the shit out of Jane, who rips her
uh-huh.
pantyhose.
Which, by the way, was really hard to do in the 70s.
Yeah, they look pretty
Sturdy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not like today's. Yeah, everything. That is one thing I could say about back in the day. Everything seemed to last longer.
Oh, 100%.
Now today, oh my god, I'm going through clothes and fuck it. It's
Oh, yeah,
horrible.
it is.
And then Brady throws a snake at her, and she ends up jumping back into the puddle.
Yep.
Jane loses her shit. Her parents are like, "Your brother can't help it; he's a cripple." And if you think I'm being a smartass, that's basically what they say.
It doesn't matter what Marty does. Like, Marty actually feels bad about it.
Oh yeah,
He
gives her
actually feels
money and
bad.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but she's really upset. She complains to her parents, and her parents are like, "Oh, sweetie,
yeah,
it's not that big of a deal. Calm
yeah,
down." And she's like, "No, you always let him get away with everything. It's fine. It's fine. He's in a
yeah.
wheelchair.
Like, shh, he's crippled. I think
He's
Marty
got
knows he's
enough to
crippled.
deal with.
Yeah.
We're just gonna let him be an asshole to you."
And then Jane overhears Stella telling a guy that she's
Mm.
pregnant and that it's his, and he's like, "I don't think so." Stella's like, "I can't go on without him," and starts popping those pills. The werewolf climbs up the trellis
Yes.
and attacks her. So it's not your traditional werewolf movie where this werewolf actually has some thought process.
It is not a random attack, and that's the
No.
first time you notice it, and you're like, "Well, shit. That's
Yeah.
on purpose."
Meanwhile, Grandma grabs her gun, but darn it, can't remember where she put the bullets. By the time she gets over, her daughter's ripped to shit.
Yep.
And now the town is starting to get worried. As
Mhm.
for the abusive father, Milt, we don't know that he's abusive, Wikipedia.
No, but
Does he
we know
look
he's an
abusive?
asshole.
Sure.
We know he's an asshole, and we know he's a bigot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But just
so
because he's an
we
old
know that.
dude with poor hygiene, hates cripples, drinks a
Uh
lot, and watches wrestling doesn't make him abusive.
Well, I mean, there was also the suggestion that, everybody who has a disability should die so that they could balance the
Oh yeah,
budget. Yeah,
electrocute them all to balance
yeah,
the budget. I
to
forgot.
balance the budget. That's kinda mildly Nazi-esque, but I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
he's a very nice man.
yeah. He's fun at parties. Yeah, Stephen King really checked off the stereotypical boxes for this guy.
Right?
Whew.
He was like, "How horrible can we make someone without actually, like, screaming from the rooftops, 'This man is horrible,'" and then he
Yeah.
put it all in this one character. Oh,
So
god.
he sits down, cracks open a stubby, and if you're wondering what a stubby is, kids, it's a bottle type. And if you Google it, you'll ask yourself, why did we ever get rid of these?
They are adorable, and I think Red Stripe still bottles in Stubbies.
Yeah, or they started redoing it in stubbies.
And they started, yeah, I
Yeah,
because I think you can get Red Stripe in the stubby format.
because sometime in the 80s they started going. I'm using quotation marks for people listening. Aerodynamic and better grip of your beer would be the company line.
Yeah.
Which they made the bottle with more neck for less beer. But I saw the stubby. I'm going, I would rather the stubby than the.
On it excuse me, every
Maybe
time
that's
I
the
see
nostalgia. Yeah, but
no, every time I see a stubby, I'm like, "I wanna have a beer now."
yeah,
Like, it just feels right.
yeah.
Maybe that's because I grew up watching people drink beer out of stubbies, so I'm
Bob
like,
and Doug McKenzie. They had the stubbies. So he's got the wrestling on. Here's something out in the greenhouse. Now, old wife abuser or child abuser Milt has lots of guns.
Yeah.
And unlike Grandma, Milt has bullets laying around everywhere.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he takes only one.
Right?
Not that it would have mattered, but what I like about this movie is that really, okay, if you were just watching this for the first time, this movie really does ramp up the tension, and it does it well. Like even after all these years, like when he's in the greenhouse, I'm like, there's the werewolf. No, okay, there's the werewolf. Where the fuck is this werewolf? I know he's
I was
here.
like, where is he coming from? Where is he coming from? Is he behind him? Is he in front of him? Is he in the corner? Is he coming in through the roof?
Yeah,
Where?
yeah. Even the car. Like, I'm sorry, I'm jumping a little ahead, but the car and the wheelchair chase and the abandoned bridge there, like, and we'll get there, but like
Yeah.
the tension was really, really good in this movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes less is more, sometimes less sucks, but the build up with the less here, I thought worked.
You know what? It's a realistic, because sometimes when the action is too much or too extreme, it takes away some of the tension.
Yeah,
Because your brain subconsciously tells you, well, this could never happen. But when you see stuff that could actually really happen and the music is just right, and you're sitting there and you're like, well, shit, if I was in that position, and it's very possible that I could be if I had a souped up motorized wheelchair.
which we'll get to.
Yeah. Then I would be just as tense, and I would be like, this is a very real feeling. So they did that very well in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the wolf comes up through the floor and pulls him down, and old abusive Milt and one of the wooden floorboards splinters and impales him.
Which was awesome.
Yes.
I enjoyed that death.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Marty, Milt's daughter kind of has a crush on him, gives him that kiss before, and they move out of town after this. Actually, it looked like a few people started moving out of town. Marty's best friend, Brady Kincaid, is also killed. So Marty and Brady are flying kites. Jane comes around because Marty's late for dinner, and Jane's in trouble for not finding him quick enough.
Apparently.
Marty's like, hey, Brady, you coming? And Brady's like, nah, I'm going to fly my kite by myself until it gets dark with the serial killer apparently running around. Marty's like, okay, well, probably won't see you tomorrow. Poor Brady is then murdered, and we don't see this kill, but the sheriff is walking away from the gazebo holding the Brady's bloody kite.
Yep, and praying.
And yeah, it's giving that, it's just saying that line from the Bible over and over.
No, he was praying Hail Mary.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
The Catholic in me is very familiar with that in English and Portuguese. So I was like, is the sheriff Catholic? Because we pray to Mary all the time. Also, can we talk about how Marty climbed a tree?
Yeah.
By himself.
Yeah, they don't really show him. They show him already up. No, they show him pull himself up.
No, they show him pulling himself up.
Great.
And I was like, how strong is this kid? Because he's not supposed to have use of his legs. Although it does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
In the movie where you see him shift his own legs and shift his legs on their own. And I'm like,
I know there was, because I actually looked for it.
Well, because the first time it happened, I was like, did he just move his leg by itself?
Yeah.
I was like, isn't he supposed to be like paralyzed from the waist down? But I was like, odd. And then in another scene, like pretty soon after that, you see him moving his legs. And I was like, dude, you just moved your legs. No, you're not. So then after that, I became very like aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And because sheriff, so he's walking away from the gazebo, holding the kite. You could tell there's a body behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where good actors, character actors, are worth every penny. Because the sheriff, who is, oh crap,
played by Terry O'Quinn.
That's it. Fantastic.
A very young Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah, very young Terry O'Quinn.
Very attractive.
Yeah, and Brady's dad comes running over and they try to stop him. He goes to look at the body. And this is another great performance because you could tell by his look and the anguish in his face, it almost paints the horrifying picture without even seeing it.
Yeah.
So, and this is just the actors. The actors. If you had horrible actors in this movie would have sucked.
Oh, 100%.
Horribly.
the fact that the acting was so good definitely made it very easy to watch.
Yes.
Very, very easy. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh," and you could feel it. You could feel when, like, stuff is getting heated. You could feel when the sheriff's walking away and just praying, I was like, "Oh, dude, that kid got mad messed up."
Yeah.
Like, just from the way I was like, "Oh, that kid must have been torn to shreds." I didn't need to see the body to have that affect me. So
No.
I was like,
But
"That was
even in the
super smart."
bar when Andy, the shop owner,
Yes.
was bitching about the sheriff and I think it's Herb, it's the deputy,
Yeah.
was telling him that's enough. Like, it was just good acting. And it
Well,
made that whole scene look
everybody everybody has an Andy, especially if you're in a small town.
yeah.
It's that guy who thinks he can always do better than everybody else, that he's smarter than everybody else, that he knows how everybody should act.
And they actually
Um,
call him out in the bar a couple times about his
sorry?
taxes. They call him out a
Yeah,
couple times about
it's
not doing his
but
taxes.
apparently not paying your property taxes gets put in the newspaper in small towns in the US. I'm like, "What?
Awesome.
That's my business. Don't be looking into that." But, he's played by Bill, Smitrovich,
Also been
who
in a ton of stuff.
been in a ton of this, his face. It took
Yeah.
me a hot second because that facial hair was legendary.
Oh, awesome. Think about
Just
doing it myself.
absolutely fucking stunning. So it took me a hot second, but I was like, "I know your face."
Yeah.
But yeah, even him doing that, you know that blowhard. Everybody does. That guy who talks a good game, but you're like, "God, you're gonna get yourself killed."
Yeah.
'Cause you know it. You know you're not trained for this, and you know but you can rile everybody up. I'm like, I love it when there's a character like that in a movie where they get everybody riled up and then it turns into a mob mentality, and you're just like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
good at it." I
Yeah.
I wouldn't follow you 'cause you're a moron, but I can see why other people would.
Yeah. This is Frankenstein. This is him getting the
Yes.
townspeople all riled up and grabbing their pitchforks and yeah, for an 80s B horror movie, yeah, I believe it balanced cheesy and realism just
Mm,
with the acting alone, very real. Like
yeah.
the actors really committed. I don't know if that's an old thing or because you don't. Well, no, there are ton of great actors now and a lot of more realistic. But
Yeah.
I was shocked to see it this realistic for a B horror movie.
I but I will say this for actors, especially for actors from the 80s and the 70s, you had more who were, more dedicated to the craft.
Yeah,
They didn't care if they had small parts. Like, these are not actors who are getting jobs based on how many likes they have on social media.
no,
These are actors who are getting jobs because they're hitting out the auditions, they're doing the classes, they're giving good performances on the regular. This is why some actors will have, 200 acting credits.
yeah,
It may just be guest spots in TV shows, but they're going to be rebooked
yeah.
more often than
Because
not.
they're doing a good job because they want that next job. Like,
Yeah.
nothing's being phoned in.
Yeah.
Even if it's a cheesy werewolf B horror movies from 1985, it's still a job they have and that's what they got paid to do. Yeah, I agree.
And they look at every job as like, "No, you're hiring me to be this actor. I'm going to be this role. I'm gonna be this role. Like,
Yeah,
this character is going to be I'm going to give it my all, even if this is a cheesy B horror movie. We're gonna deliver."
yeah,
Now everybody's like, "Well, I have to do a product placement ad for my trailer before I can go on to set
yeah,
and get 2 million impressions."
yeah.
And
Other actors are waiting there for 5 hours for the star or the whatever to show up.
did you hear about that?
I hear about it all the time. Is there something new?
No, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh, yeah, that's why he got pissy because he was sitting there for hours apparently waiting
No,
for
he was the one who made everybody wait on his last
Oh,
movie for, like, 7 to 8 hours a
ooh,
day. It cost the movie, I think, over 250,000,000 or
ouch.
I think I saw 2 amounts, 50,000,000 and then 250,000,000, but because he was so late every day. And then apparently there was also a rumor, I cannot confirm nor deny this, but apparently he used to pee into bottles, Voss water bottles, and just leave them around set, and then his, like, staff would have to go around and clean.
Ugh. Yeah, I wouldn't wanna be in Hollywood that bad.
No, me neither,
What do
man.
you
I'd be
do?
like, "Fuck this
How was
shit."
your day at work? Not good.
There were
Not good.
6 bottles of piss.
Yeah, and he doesn't put the lids on any of them.
Well, I heard he did that while he was working out because he does these like marathon sessions. So rather than stop working out and go to the bathroom, he just pees in a bottle and keeps it going. Like I'm like, that's super fucking gross.
Yeah, it is
Go
gross.
wash your hands.
Maybe at your home gym, not at the
No,
local
it's at
gym.
his. Well, most of the time it's at his own gym. He
Hmm.
sets up his own gym every time he goes on location to film.
Yes, I heard that.
And
Yeah.
it's a big motherfucker. I was like, God. But anyways, that was the story I heard this week where I was just like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, aren't you embarrassed?
Well, you
to
made
live
such
your
a
life
big
like
deal
that?
about Vin Diesel being late,
Yeah.
and then you go and do that. Yeah, that's pretty douchey.
That's like, don't get me wrong. If you're 2 hours late, I'm going to be mad. Half an hour to an hour, I can probably forgive because 9 times out of 10, I'm 15 minutes to 20 minutes late for everything. That's just because I have high hopes for the TTC. That always fails me, but whatever, it's fine. Let's get back to this movie.
All right. After Brady's death, citizens from the Vigilante Justice Group, although local sheriff Joe Holler attempts to stop the citizens, he relents after Brady's father, Herb, berates him. Oh, I got the names mixed up, did I?
Oh,
Okay, so the deputy is
Herb
not named
Berated
Herb.
the
Herb
dad.
is the name of the dad.
I think the
apologize.
deputy is it Pete Sylvester?
Oh, maybe.
I have the cast up because I always like double checking.
So Sheriff Joe is like, no, you can't do this, and then Brady's father is there and gives like, you want to talk about justice? My kid just got ripped
Yeah.
off, and then, so got everyone riled up again. Reverend Lester Lowe fails to dissuade the townsfolk from causing further bloodshed. While the vigilante hunt for the killer in the nearby woods, 3 are attacked and killed. Oops. Oh, come on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Why? Give me 1
You
second.
froze.
Nope. How did I fix this last time?
I don't know. Didn't you have to switch cameras?
Yes, I did. I think that's wrong. There we go. Am I there? Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay, so they 3 are attacked and killed. Okay, so there's more than 3 people.
Yes.
And we saw this in the trailer and commented that about the fog.
The fog.
And I don't care what the reason, I wouldn't be going out in the forest in that fog. There's no
Fuck no.
way.
When the fog is that thick, you stay
I'd
the
be
fuck home.
No, thank
It
you.
doesn't matter where. Either ghosts are coming through there, werewolves, vampires. When the fog is that thick, you're gonna die. Stay the fuck home.
Yeah, I'd be like, it's called a night. We'll go in the morning. They'd be like, well, it's your kid. I'm still not going in the fog.
No, you know what? I have watched The Fog, the
Yeah.
original and the remake.
Multiple
I
times, yeah.
have watched enough horror movies that I know the fog is no good. Okay?
Yeah.
Nothing good comes out of the fog.
No, and again, when they hear the werewolf, they don't know it's a werewolf. That just says it's an animal of some kind, and they're like, "It's over there." No, it's over there. And then Buddy gets them all to be quiet, and he's looking around. And the fog is now at like their waist.
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's here with us. Like it's underneath
Under
us.
the fog.
It's under the fog." Then one guy gets pulled under and pops out.
Yeah.
Half his head is gone.
Yeah, that was something else. I was always very surprised. I was like, "Damn." Also, the Peacemaker, the baseball bat.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was fun. I laughed. I laughed at that point.
That was good. And that's
Owen,
the cheesy, right?
Yeah, Owen, the bar owner, is carrying his Peacemaker baseball bat because that's real helpful.
Yeah. Everyone else has a gun.
Everyone else has a gun. He's walking around with a baseball bat. God bless. Look, a baseball bat can be very handy. So he's walking, and then you see him with his arm come up, and he starts beating when he gets pulled down. The arm with the Peacemaker comes up, and he starts beating on the werewolf. And then once the Peacemaker goes back down to the fog, the werewolf's arm comes up with it,
holding and starts beating the bar owner.
It was my favorite fucking boy. I was like, God, awesome.
I like that. Yeah, that was great.
That was so good.
And that's what I mean by there. This movie is cheesy in a few
Yeah,
parts.
it does have some very cheesy moments.
Yeah,
And then
and they all run.
yeah.
Well, Andy, the gun store owner, he's the first to take off. And then they stand around, and then when Buddy pops up, and yeah, they all take off.
Mhm.
Who else dies? The one guy that says it's under the fog, he's the first to get
Yeah.
it. The peacemaker gets it, but someone else got killed. Oh, I think the guy and the girl. The old guy with the glasses
Yes.
that wasn't afraid to go in, but he was
Yeah, yeah.
terrified, and the lady. Yeah.
Which usually women are smarter and they stay the fuck home. So I was
Yeah,
like,
not
"Girl,
this
why are
one.
you there?"
Yeah. Yeah. The survivors, especially Andy Fairton, later deny seeing anything unusual. Afterwards, Reverend Lowe dreams that he is presiding over a mass funeral when his congregation, including the bodies in the casket, begin to transform into werewolves before his eyes and attack him. He awakens screaming and asks God to end it.
Mhm.
Okay, so Wikipedia skips over a lot of non-werewolf killing stuff. Uncle Red, Gary Busey.
Mm.
I love Gary Busey. That crazy bastard.
Can I tell you, he gave me like I was like, "Girl, why you letting your son hang out with your brother?" This man is swigging from a bottle of I think it was Jim Beam.
Yeah, I
And I
think
was
so
like
too.
and telling dirty jokes to your kid.
And just laughing. And Marty, the kid, Corey Haim, is laughing.
Yeah.
They're playing poker with baseball cards as currency. Yeah, but it's like that one where the reviews where who wouldn't want an Uncle Red
I mean,
if you're a kid?
if you were a kid, maybe, but I was like now that I'm older, I'm staring at him and I'm like, I would not let you near my kids.
I can understand the moms.
Yeah. I'm like, I get you, Ma.
Yeah,
As a kid, I probably was like, Uncle Red is so cool. Like he's playing poker with him, just drinking and telling dirty
just
jokes.
drinking. Yeah,
Makes them like motorized motorcycles or motorized wheelchairs. I'm
wheelchairs.
like, fuck yeah. This is cool.
But you can tell he
Hands him.
really does love his nephew.
Yes.
Like yeah,
He loves his nephew, but then it was so funny because afterwards I was like, okay, yeah, I can see the bond between the nephew and the uncle. Cool. I can see why the mom is upset with her brother. I'm like, makes a lot of sense. And then I'm like, Uncle Red doesn't interact at all with his niece.
no, not until later.
Not until much later.
But there's not that same dynamic at all.
There's no dynamic.
But it's like almost like she's like, yeah, you're a moron.
Kind of, yeah. I was like, either she's too smart for but you don't even see her like walk through the room and be like, okay, good night, Uncle Red.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's
So I'm
too
like,
bad they didn't
it's
put a
weird.
little more into the family because I enjoyed the brother and sister dynamic. I enjoyed
Yeah.
the barbecues, Uncle Red, the mom and dad stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I actually really liked it. Because of the mounting unsolved murders, curfews are put in place, canceling the town's 4th of July celebration. The Coslows decide to have their own backyard party and invite their mother, Nan's alcoholic brother, Red. Oh, Red. Yeah, Red comes
Yeah.
over. Red gives Marty a custom built wheelchair motorcycle, which he nicknames the Silver Bullet. Actually, it was the old Silver Bullet redone.
Yes.
And that was awesome.
No, that was super cool.
To quote that Seinfeld episode when they have to replace the wheelchair,
Mhm.
this wheelchair almost makes you wish you were crippled. I remember seeing this as a kid going, I want one of those just
Oh,
to
yeah.
drive around. Oh my God.
It was so fucking cool.
And he also gives him a pile of fireworks so he can have his own celebration. Now, okay, this was very irresponsible of Uncle Red. There is
100%.
curfews. There are there is a serial killer running around, and you're telling him to go out, stay close to the house, but go out and let off fireworks.
Yep. Yep.
This was one of the this was a head scratcher part of the movie. Like, I get why they had to do it.
Well, they needed to give the kid a reason to sneak out in the middle of the night to encounter the werewolf. Like, I get that. But also, this is the exact reason why the mom is like, can you not?
Yeah.
To Uncle Red.
Yeah. Go out
That's
with him to make sure he's okay.
drive him to a field somewhere to shoot off these, like, be a responsible adult
Yeah.
instead of handing the kid an entire bag of fireworks, pointing out very specifically, and this one's a rocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Said this one's loud, but be careful.
And go away from the house. Like, don't do it near the house.
Yeah.
Go away from the house.
And
Good job, buddy.
yeah,
Good job.
If you get seriously hurt, you're kind of fucked because one, you can't walk. So
Correct.
take you a while to crawl home.
Also, this is 1976. There are no cell phones.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, he'd have to
There
crawl
are
home
no
to
payphones.
tell everyone that he's hurt.
Well, there are payphones, but there aren't
Yeah.
as many, especially in a small town. You're going to have like 3. Anyways.
Marty uses the silver bullet to go out in the middle of the night to a bridge where he lights the fireworks, climbing down the trellis of it with no legs, to like the upper body strength on this kid.
Right.
And you do see a couple times where he's doing this and you kind of see his legs moving.
Yeah. You see his legs moving, but it's so small.
Yeah.
That
Like
I'm
I
not even
forgave
mad
it.
at it.
It's The fireworks get the werewolf's attention and it confronts him, but he escapes after launching a rocket into the creature's eye. This was a great scene where he's like sees it, doesn't see it, it's coming over, and then he freaks out. And I think Corey Haim did a really great job. Like he really fumbles and is startled, and the look on his face when he's driving home. I've had that look, like of running away from stuff, usually playing like Nicky Nine Door and stuff and doing stuff not supposed to, but that whole feeling of we got to get out of here.
No, Corey Haim was an incredible actor.
Yeah,
like it sucks that he had so many personal issues.
Yeah,
because I think if he had been more protected when he was a kid actor, and he had been kept safe, I think he could have been one of the greatest actors of our generation.
Because he was like everything from Lost Boys to Lucas to Silver Bullet. You could tell he could act. He really could act.
He could act if he was. I think if he didn't go through as much personal turmoil and as much like abuse through Hollywood, if Hollywood had done its job, if his agents and his parents had done their jobs and kept him safe,
yeah,
I think he really would have like matured into one of the best actors that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He just unfortunately didn't get that opportunity.
No. Marty enlists Jane's help to look for someone with a newly injured or missing eye. So the narration pops back up. I forgot all about it. Kind of what the fuck is that? Because we haven't heard from it in a while.
Yeah.
But she says kind of like, I believed him back then. I don't know why, but I believe everything he says is true. And I did like, and she went house to house looking for cans and bottles and looking for everybody to see if someone's missing an eye. And long and behold, she discovers that Reverend Lowe is missing his left eye. Now, I don't know if when I first watched this, if I got it was the Reverend from his dream.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
I didn't get it from the dream, but then I realized afterwards, and I think this is a testament to weirdly how well they did with this movie. It never fucking occurred to me that the priest or like knew about the werewolves when he had that dream. It was just an accepted fact for all of us that it was a werewolf who was going around killing. So you didn't realize that the priest never knew or wasn't supposed to know it was a werewolf. So then by the time you see the one-eyed thing, you're like, oh, right, that's why he had the dream, because he's the werewolf.
Yeah.
And but I was like, I just accepted it, where I was like, of course, everybody knows it's a werewolf.
And the score did another great job. Didn't start playing the music. It waited till after you saw his eye, because really you're just watching it going, oh, just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And then you see him turn his head and he's got the bandage over his eye. Yeah. And that's when she goes in, she's all freaked out, drops off the bottles, sees the bat.
Yes.
And then he's right behind her and he's like, I'll give you a ride home. And she's like, oh, I'm okay.
No, all she keeps saying is, no. Then she just runs. And I was like, yes, girl, get it, just take off. But that entire scene of her pushing that cart, going into various businesses, looking at people in the eyes, and the way they shot it. So, like, the very first door, you see one eye,
Yeah.
and then the door opens to see a second, and then you hear the husband's voice, and then he pops around the corner, and it's just his head that's coming over, and I was like, "Ah." She goes into the businesses, and then, like, the men turning in the diner to look at her
Yeah.
and stare at her in a really creepy way, by the way. Weird. But you start to feel that tension where she's like, she's looking and she's looking and she's looking, and it's a very uncomfortable situation for her. And then she starts to feel silly, and she's like, God, my brother's such a booger. But she calls him a different name as she's like crossing, because she's like, I've looked at every single fucking person in this town and they
Yeah.
all have two eyes.
They all got their eyes.
I can't believe I got fucking suckered by my brother. And
And
she
then,
just keeps walking. And then she finds out, and then she's like, well, fuck.
yeah. Uh-oh.
Whoops.
Realizing that no adult would believe his story, Marty begins sending anonymous notes to Reverend Lowe telling him that he knows who he is, what he is, and that he should commit suicide in order to stop killing. Lowe then tries to run Marty off. I don't want to spell check. Get off. Marty off the road with his car. When Marty is trapped under a clothes-covered bridge, Lowe, whose condition has fractured his sanity, tries to rationalize the murders he has committed as doing God's work. Yes, he says that he killed the woman at the beginning that was pregnant because if she committed suicide, she wouldn't go to heaven. So by
Yes.
killing her, she could be with God.
Mhm.
I like this scene. Like when he was running out of gas, I'm like, every fucking time, dude. Every fucking time you leave it to the last minute to put your gas in your thing, because it happened a couple times.
They establish it throughout the movie. So when
Yeah.
it does happen, you don't roll your eyes. You're like, God damn it, kid. Have you not learned?
Exactly. And then when he gets on the bridge and you're like, oh, maybe he'll drive by. And then the car comes up, stops, and then
Yep.
it walks out. It was very the tension was very high
Yeah. And it
for
was
a
an
kid's horror
appropriate,
movie.
yeah, it was an appropriate level of tension.
Yeah.
Like you felt worried, you felt concerned, you kind of felt mildly nauseous because you were like, ah shit, he's gonna get the crap beaten out of him. And then Mr. Zimmerman comes out on his tractor and you're like, scream louder, kid.
And
Scream
he
louder.
screams louder and keeps
Yeah.
screaming and screaming like, yes, thank you. Finally, someone in a horror movie does what they're supposed to do.
He turns off his tractor and he's like, hey Marty, is that you?
You stuck in there? Kind of
And
creepy
then
in there.
you hear the car before
Leaving.
Marty turns around.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the fuck did the sound on this? Because you are awesome.
Yep. Okay, so Lowe apologizes and moves in for the kill until Marty calls for help from a passerby. Okay.
Mm.
The siblings manage to convince Red. Actually, I will say this, Gary Busey, because they tell him all the whole story, and he acts kind of what you would think an adult that loves his niece and nephew, doesn't
Yeah.
want to hurt their feelings, would act. But he's like, are you out of your fucking mind? But they convinced Red that Lowe is connected to the murders and attempted to kill Marty. Red persuades Sheriff Holler to investigate. That night, Holler, still
Mhm.
skeptical but desperate to find the killer, goes to Lowe's house and finds Lowe has locked himself in his garage to restrain himself from further killings. Okay, all right, no, so the sheriff doesn't know that. He
No.
finds the car, he finds the paint, the red
Yeah.
paint, and actually, Red found the blue paint on the wheelchair, silver
Yeah.
bullet. So Holler goes in, sees the paint here, and then the Reverend pops out. I guess he was trying to lock himself so he wouldn't get out. But before Holler can arrest him, Lowe transforms and bludgeons Holler to death with a baseball bat.
The baseball bat.
The good old, the Peacemaker.
The Peacemaker always makes an appearance.
Now, I wouldn't say that the wolf effects were as good as, say, an American Werewolf in London, but they weren't bad.
No, they weren't bad. They weren't
Spectacular by today's
No.
standards, obviously. Well, they probably CGI'd in today.
CGI mostly for today, and then for the really close-up stuff, you get more realistic ones today than you did then.
Yeah.
That's just new materials, new techniques. And I mean, for what they had in 85, I was totally cool with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they meet Red. They talk to Red again, and they're like, "Well, you talked to the sheriff. He said he was going to check it out." And long behold, he's gone. He's
Nobody's
disappeared.
seen him.
Nobody's seen him. So, knowing the werewolf is coming for them next, Marty and Jane convince Red to take Jane's silver cross and Marty's silver medallion to the gunsmith, who melts them down into a silver bullet. Yeah, he said, my nephew just discovered Lone Ranger, and the guy makes them a silver bullet. On the night of the full moon, and this is actually when they start kind of theorizing why the werewolf is killing when there's no moon. They believe that he's all werewolf when it's a full moon, but kind of werewolf when it's not. On the night of the full moon, they wait for the werewolf, who cuts the power to the house and smashes its way inside, attacking Red. I like this scene of them seeing in the window.
Yeah.
Jane screaming. The scream scares the shit out of Red, and he's like, "What the fuck? What did you see?" And
he almost drops the bullet. Because for some reason he decided to take the bullet out of the gun.
I think it was because he was like, "It's bedtime." They're like, "No, you promised." He's like, "I know I promised this, but there is no werewolf." And he takes the bullet out, which later costs him.
Yeah. But I was like, I would just leave the bullet in there because you guys go to bed, I'll stay up. It's fine. And that's what he promised them. He's like, if you guys go to bed, like it's already after 3, like the werewolf's not coming.
Yeah. Yeah. The bullet is nearly lost in the melee, but Marty's able to retrieve it and shoots the werewolf in the right eye. The corpse turns back into low before dying. This was good because Red does try to save the kids, and he getting tossed everywhere.
Yeah.
Janie even tries to help. She gets the gun.
She gets the gun. Marty's reaching for the bullet. He manages to get the bullet. Shoots the werewolf in the other eye. And then I made a note. I was like, Marty really has a thing for eyes.
Yeah.
He just keeps getting them in there. But you think he's dead, then he pops back up, and then he does a big gasp, and then he drops dead again.
That last
and you're like,
scare.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, I can deal with that. But I mean, yeah.
As the trio recover, Marty and Jane say they love each other and embrace. And Jane narrates that although she had not always been able to say it, she was able to say it from then on. Also, you get Marty's joke because Red asks, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "I can't feel my legs."
That was good. That one was good. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I think there's something wrong with my legs. What? I can't feel them. I can't move my legs.
And that is our movie. So first we'll go to our YouTube scores. And before we do our reviews, our scores, our YouTube scores for Silver Bullet, we had Buy It for great horror fun from the 80s, Rent It, Werewolf Suspense, Busey, Stream It, Goofy R-rated Goonies, and Skip It, Bad Effects, Too Much Busey. So for Buy It, great horror fun from the 80s, we got 23%. Rent It, Werewolf Suspense and Busey, 11%. Stream It, Goofy R-rated Goonies, 52%. Skip It, Bad Effects, and Too Much Busey, 14%. So the majority of everyone that was polled pretty much said Stream It for Goofy R-rated Goonies fun at 52%. What is your score?
My score is a rent and or buy cheap. Now, is this an absolutely incredible across the board, everybody's going to love this movie? No. But do I think that it has a certain charm to it? Really great performances. For the most part, a cohesive and coherent story that moves along at a really great pace. It does feel a little young. So if you're older, it may not appeal to you, which is why I say buy it cheap, especially if you have the nostalgia of watching it when you were younger. But it's definitely worth a rental. Like I rented it for $4.99 and I am not mad about that at all. I was like, yeah, that's a really good price to rent it.
Right.
It was entertaining. It didn't feel old. you know how sometimes you watch movies that are older or like from the 70s or the 80s and it feels out of date? This didn't feel out of date. It had a great storytelling component, really great performances, and memorable actors doing an incredible job. So, I mean, definitely worth a rent or even a cheap buy.
All right. Buy at a discount or rent.
Mhm.
All right. My score. Um, yeah, this is what digging up an old DVD or going to the video store a la on demand now and finding a childhood movie you remember liking is actually all about. Yes, sometimes they're disappointing, hugely disappointing, so disappointing. Sometimes they're okay, sometimes better than we remember. This was just
Mhm.
fun.
Mhm.
The opening narration states that it takes place in 1976, so automatically it freezes itself in time for me. And I think that's what you were kind of saying, where it doesn't feel out of
Yeah,
date.
it doesn't feel outdated.
No,
Yeah.
the acting for a B horror movie was beyond good. Gary Busey was fantastic. Sheriff Joe, all the bar people, they were great. Even like the Reverend and Marty and Jane, they were pretty. They were not pretty good. They were good for a B horror movie. The acting was fantastic.
Mhm.
The Reverend fighting between wanting it to end, finding the excuses for the killing was good. Corey Haim and Megan Fellows, I noted here, were childhood actors that were great. I could have actually used a bit more Marty and Jane and hunting for the werewolf. Like it felt like a kid's horror movie. I
Mhm.
wish they kind of would have ran with that. It's not a perfect movie, but even for an R-rated horror, this is a great introduction to classic horror movies for older kids.
Yeah.
Um, Younger kids, it's still fun, but there are quite a few scenes that are very gory. Some of the tension of like looking for the werewolf, when's he going to pop out? Some younger kids might get a little scared for this, but for older kids, I think it's a great introduction to classic 80s horror movies. I say buy it. It's great 80s horror that holds up and balances horror suspense with comedy and some cheese. There's a bit of cheese in this movie,
There is a bit of cheese. There is a bit of cheese. Yeah.
but I think it balances overall very well.
Yeah. It's a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna. I thought I was gonna like it. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did.
I thought it was gonna be a lot cheesier, and I
Yeah,
thought the nostalgia was gonna be a bigger part in it.
yeah.
But I found I didn't need the nostalgia
No.
because I felt it was a great leap. It was well paced. It had good storytelling. The majority of the performances were super great. Is it a little it's still a B horror movie. Like,
Oh yeah,
let's
absolutely.
put that into perspective. But it was very entertaining, and it was fun, and I could totally see maybe a more mature 12-year-old, 13-year-old. This is definitely probably one of the first horror movies I'd show them because
Oh yeah.
it's got the gore, but it's still kind of fun, kind of young. You wouldn't feel bad showing it to them. Like, you wouldn't sit there going, "I'm gonna give your ass nightmares if you watch this movie." But so, I mean, it was a fun movie. It was a good watch. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did.
Yeah. No, this could be like a good Halloween one to
Oh,
break out
yeah.
one because my older kids, not my younger ones, but the older kids. Absolutely. And the director Daniel Addis
Mhm.
has directed like everything from The Walking Dead to Raising Hope, True Blood, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Ray Donovan, um, just Lost, Big Love.
Mhm.
Just he didn't get really big into the OC, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Vampire Slayer, Party of Five. I think he did a ton of Northern Exposure. What's that one that you like? 90210.
I love
Yeah, he
90210.
did 20 episodes of 90210. He didn't do a lot of movies. He did a few after this and then really got into
Yeah.
TV, like a lot. And like really good TV. Deadwood, Heroes, The Wire. Ooh, The Wire. That's a good
Oh,
one.
he did 3 episodes of Melrose Place.
Yeah, like he's really done a lot of TV, good
Yeah.
TV. But yeah, no, this was fun. I really like this. All
You
right.
know what? Sometimes when it comes to movies like this, it doesn't have to be brilliant.
No.
It just has to be good.
Yeah, just good. Does that have to
Just
be
good. And
Academy
not
Award doesn't mean
yeah,
good. It just has to be
I don't need something that's going to be, complicated and, detailed, and I'm like, I want to be entertained, and
Yeah,
this is
just have
definitely
fun watching it.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
Yeah, I was not looking at the time at all in this movie.
No, it actually went pretty quick. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
I could have been a little long. Like I really, you almost wish there were a couple more friends and the van and looking for the werewolf or at least the brother and sister because I really enjoyed that part.
yeah." You
Yeah,
know what? My brother called me and he convinced me of this. Show me a scene of him, being like, "Just help me out with this." Like a
yeah,
little bit of begging. We got the voiceover, which was great. And it was nice. It also the voiceovers, because sometimes voiceovers annoy me because I'm like, you could just show me this. But sometimes voiceovers like this, because they're telling the story of something that happened in the past,
yeah.
it feels right. It's a reminiscence. So I was like, oh, I like the narration. Keep telling me more. This is good.
All right. Okay. So for part of our YouTube show, we have trivia. There wasn't a ton of trivia on Silver
Mhm.
Bullet. You may start. Oops.
Okie dokies.
But it
I'll
looks
start with
like
that
yeah,
image.
it was a pretty smooth sailing. Pretty smooth sailing. There we go.
Okay. Tarker's Mills, where the action takes place, is a fictional town within the Stephen King universe. It borders locations of other King's works, also adapted to films, such as Chester's Mill, Under the Dome, 2013, Derry, It, 1990, and Castle Rock, Needful Things, 1993, Cujo, 1983, and Pet Cemetery, among others.
According to director Daniel Adias, I think that's how you pronounce it, Gary Busey ad-libbed a great deal. No shit. For instance, when Uncle Red is in the gun shop, Adias checked with Stephen King, who said okay for all these ad-libs to be included.
That's
So
fantastic.
Gary Busey seems like the type of guy that'll just, might not even read the script. Just go
The
with
someone just tells him what the general, like, point of the line is, and he's
it.
like, "I got this."
That reaction at the end where he screams that's probably the first time he realized he was in a werewolf movie. just just scared the shit out
I
of him.
thought this was a rom-com.
Yeah, I thought this was like me, uncle and kids.
Shooting started without a proper werewolf suit. Producer Dino De Laurentiis was very unhappy with the werewolf used in the film. He was disappointed in both the way it looked and the way the costumed actor moved. This proved to be a bit of an insult to the actor wearing the suit, as he was an accomplished modern dancer and was hired specifically for his movement skills. That's super interesting. I wonder how that conversation went. So Dino doesn't think you're moving right as a
Yeah,
werewolf.
yeah. And Dino De Laurentiis made so many movies.
He
And
really did.
and he's just a lover of movies and he had a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, no, he had a stupid amount of money, and his granddaughter became a Food Network, TV chef for, like, 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Giada, yeah, Giada De Laurentiis is his granddaughter.
Yeah. I wish I had a
Or daughter? I think granddaughter.
This was the first and only film directed by Daniel Adias. For the rest of the 1980s to today, he mostly directed TV episodes for some famous shows and hasn't made another theatrical film. He has made a couple TV, and
Yeah.
this movie, like, it wasn't a box office smash or anything, but it actually made money. I'm wondering why he didn't.
He may
And
not have liked the
yeah,
experience.
but
That's
if you
it.
look at his, I think did we look at that in the thing? Like,
Yeah,
just
no, he
yeah, he
has
made
an extensive, like, resume,
ridiculous.
and he
But
worked
yeah,
on some really, really great shows. I think because filming a feature and directing a feature is very different from directing an episode of TV. Because an episode of TV, you're looking anywhere from 5 to 8 days.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes on the outside part, it's 10 days. Then you can take 2 or 3 weeks off, then you get another episode.
yeah. You're doing a
Um,
movie. You're pretty
when you're
much
doing a
committed for a
movie,
bit.
yeah, you're committed for months on end.
Yeah.
So it may just be that he doesn't like being on one project for that long. And he's like, "I like variety. Let's go direct some TV." Complete construction of the werewolf costume took 3 months. After finalization of the shape and design, using three-dimensional clay heads, The entire costume was made of foam and polyurethane, and was covered with actual bear hair. The head of the costume was mechanically operated by 6 people from a distance of up to 30 feet away.
A lot of
Yo,
people don't know this, but Gary Busey killed the bear by hand. The hair that they used for the werewolf. It was probably his idea, and he said, "I'll be right back."
they just gave him a bottle of scotch and sent him
Yeah.
into the woods.
And everyone's like, "Where the fuck did Gary Busey go?" And he came coming out of the woods dragging a dead bear.
It's like, I got the bear. We can use the fur. It's great. It's great. But that's impressive. 3 months.
Brady's father mentions the cemetery Harmony Hill. This is another tie-in to another Stephen King adaptation, particularly Salem's Lot. So same cemetery.
The fireworks on the bridge scenes were filmed on 2 separate occasions, months apart. After principal photography was completed in the fall of 1984, they discovered a continuity problem. The wide shots and close ups of Marty lighting the fireworks didn't match. They returned 4 months later to redo these scenes, and by then, due to the seasonal change, much of the foliage and trees had lost their leaves. Great lengths were taken in the close pickup shots to not show this in the backgrounds.
That's impressive. Like, that's a lot of filmmakers would have been, you know what?
Fuck
We
it.
don't care.
Yeah,
Or
but no.
producers.
Yeah, well, producers would have been like, there is no budget for that.
Yeah. So
Directors would have said, I don't care. The continuity person would be crying and be like, but there's so many problems.
this director, and that's why I wish he kept making movies, because
This is incredible attention to detail.
yeah.
Like
And
this
then
is,
they made sure that, like, the close-ups, they tried not to show any.
yeah.
I did not know. When I watch a movie, I don't really look for, unless it's blatantly bad. But I didn't notice anything that says, "Hey, the foliage there is different."
Yeah. I try not
Explains
to
why
look
there was
either.
some close-ups. I thought it was more for tension.
Yeah, they did a lot of like really close up shots, especially when he's actually lighting the fireworks.
Yeah.
I was
Now we
like,
know
wow,
why.
we're super close, and he's not rolling back that far.
John Candy was considered to play Uncle Red. That would have been a way
It would have
different
been a
movie.
very different movie. Jennifer Connelly was considered for the character Jane, but she was already busy in Italy working on Dario Argento's Phenomena, 1985.
This movie was released during an early to mid 1980s cycle of werewolf movies. The other movies being Wolfen, 81, The Return of the Wolfman / The Craving, 81, The Howling, 81, An American Werewolf in London, 81, Full Moon High, 81, The Beast Within, 82, The Company of Wolves, 84, Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. I don't think I've seen that movie. That's supposed to be one of the worst movies ever.
I haven't.
85, Transylvania 65000, 85, Teen Wolf, 85, Dead Time Stories, 86, Teen Wolf 2, Jason Bateman, 87, Howling 3, The Marsupials, 87. That's a horrible title for a horror movie. Waxwork, 88, Monster Squad, 88, Lone Wolf, 88, and Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. I believe it was 88.
Fantastic. Also, weird trivia having to do with Teen Wolf. Michael J. Fox and Jason Bateman went to a hockey game together, and they were sitting together. And when they put them up on the big screen, it said Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2.
And see, I love Teen Wolf.
Yeah,
And I remember liking Teen Wolf 2. Not as much as Teen Wolf 1, but
I remember loving Teen, but I also had a little crush on Michael J. Fox. So I mean,
I loved his movies when I was a kid. All of them, like Doc Hollywood, My Secret of My Success.
yeah, he was so cool.
Yeah.
And so was Jason Bateman, like in the 80s. He was very, very cool too.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
He
to
had a
watch
couple
those
TV
guys.
shows. Before he did Valerie, he had a TV show. I can't remember what, some about checkers. I can't remember what it was called, but it only lasted one season.
Yeah.
And then he did Valerie, which became Hogan's Family. And
Yeah. I remember
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, I remember liking Jason Bateman. Yeah, I still like Jason Bateman.
Yeah, no, he's fun. He's awesome. I like his stuff.
All right. And that's it for Silver Bullet.
Thank you, Silver
Okay.
Bullet.
So, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us and going back to 1985 and taking a look at Silver Bullet. We hope you go and watch it because it was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Until the next movie we remember liking.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.